Our New Testament reading is from the Gospel according to Matthew. It begins at chapter 24, verse 36. Again, this is near the end of the Gospel of Matthew. It's just days from the time when Jesus will be crucified, and he is talking about end times. But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing of the flood until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together. One will be taken and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Advent is a strange season. It may be the strangest season of the church year. The Christmas season is straightforward. Christ is born, and we celebrate with gusto. The season of Lent has a clear trajectory. We are walking with Jesus towards Jerusalem and the cross. Easter season is the celebration of God's victory over death in Jesus. But Advent is strange. It's almost a season of bait and switch. Look at our sanctuary. It looks different from last week, no? Gone are the autumn colors and leaves, our lovely harvest decorations, and in their place are the greens we associate with Christmas. But the sanctuary is not fully decorated, and that's because despite what the radio stations and the grocery stores and the ads for Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday urge us to believe, it's not Christmas yet. Advent tells us it's almost Christmas, but then it forces us to wait a full 4 weeks for the real celebration. Advent forces us to wait. And if the decorations in our homes and in the shop windows we walk or drive by are any measure, Advent causes us to be out of step with the culture in our waiting. No one wants to wait for Christmas. Then look at the gospel reading that is being offered up this first Sunday in Advent. The first confusing thing is, here is Jesus, and he seems pretty keyed up about something. He is upset. We think of Advent as preparation for our celebration of Jesus' birth. So why this week are we hearing from him as a man? And what's he talking about? The first week in Advent gives us Jesus as we hear him in the last weeks before Advent, if you think back a couple of weeks. It's late in Matthew's gospel. Jesus is in Jerusalem with disciples a few days away from his own crucifixion. And he is looking at the end of his own life and at the end of life as he and his friends know it. Jesus is talking about coming catastrophe, about death and destruction, and he's talking about the cost to the community, those who will be taken, those who will remain. This is not about a supernatural rapture, but about something this community actually witnessed, the crackdown of Rome on Jerusalem, in which families were torn apart, in which all their religious and cultural treasures were decimated, and in which many, many people were killed. And Jesus' refrain to those who are listening is, keep awake because the Son of Man is coming, and no one knows when. The Son of Man is a strange enigmatic expression. Jesus calls himself the Son of Man a number of times throughout this gospel. And one way to read it is that he's emphasizing his own humanity. It means the mortal one, the one who is like everybody else, pretty much. But the Son of Man is also a mysterious figure from the Hebrew scriptures, from the prophecies. And sometimes that figure is a mere mortal, but one who suffers and is humbled. And other times, that figure is the one who is coming, the Messiah, the Jewish king who has been foretold. Advent is a strange season. It's like bait and switch. And though this first week in Advent, we've decorated our sanctuary with Christmas trees, we are not yet focused on the birth of a baby so much as the birth pangs of something extraordinary God is going to bring about. We are acknowledging, in fact, that the kingdom of heaven, which is the story of the Gospel of Matthew, is still only partially here. It has not been achieved. It has begun. It is with us. It is among us. But we don't notice it much, especially if we're paying attention to what the world actually looks like. Jesus' urgent message to us is, keep awake. Ironically, the Advent season is a time of wakefulness for many of us, but not, I think, like Jesus meant. It's a time when we stay up too late ordering presents online, or wrapping them, or finishing up the Christmas cards. Or it's a time we spend lying awake in bed, worrying about the effects of all that spending on our credit cards come January. Or maybe a time we spend lying awake, thinking about all the kinds of things that make the preparations for jollity feel somewhat hollow. Estrangement from those we love, illness, loss. Every Christmas is for someone their first Christmas without someone. We keep awake, all right, but it's a kind of fretful, sorrowful, tense, inadequate feeling wakefulness that leaves us twitching and ill at ease. But hear me now. Even though he is upset and full of warnings, Jesus isn't talking about staying awake so that we can fret or worry or add gray hairs and wrinkles to our growing collections. He's talking about the kind of wakefulness we experience when we're waiting for something wonderful. The call with the good news about the job or the good diagnosis. Someone we love walking through the door. Some wonderful surprise we've been tipped off to expect. Jesus is talking about staying awake in hope. We've decked the halls of our sanctuary with beautiful greens, and we have done so with a view to observing the fire codes of the village of Endicott. But for those who decorate at home with fresh greens, those greens actually have something to say to us about hope. Take the spruce tree. Native to North America, it's managed to make its way long ago to Europe, when it was the first tree to be used as the Christmas tree. It's an ancient species. It can be found in the fossil record dating back to the Cretaceous period. And for those of you who don't have those memorized, that is 136 million years. And there is a spruce tree in Norway that is so old it has a name, Old Tycho. This tree has survived for 9,558 years. Spruce has medicinal uses as well. It's a natural source of vitamin C, and it was traditionally carried on trade ships for the crew to prevent scurvy. Its needles store water, and it can be life-saving in drought conditions. Spruce has been used in construction. It's good for interior walls, and its resin was used traditionally to caulk the seams of sailing ships. Spruce is the wood of choice for the finest stringed instruments in the world. Have you ever seen that video of Joshua Bell playing Bach motets in a subway station in Washington, D.C. He plays for 45 minutes and no one notices that it's Joshua Bell. That instrument he's playing, a priceless Stradivarius violin, was made with spruce wood from a forest known as the Singing Woods of Paneveggio in northern Italy. More than you ever wanted to know about the spruce, I'm sure. But for us, in this season, the spruce we know as a Christmas tree. And at this point, it will probably not surprise you to learn that this tree, which has survived as a species for more than 1 million years, and whose wood can be used to build a home or an instrument capable of creating the most glorious music, and whose scent, I am sure because of my own carefully conducted research in my home, can actually lower the heart rate and blood pressure. This tree, all around the world, symbolizes hope. Jesus asks us to keep awake. Not in the way we do when we can't get an annoying song out of our head, or when the taxes are due and we're terrified. Keep awake in the way we are keenly awake during a walk in the woods, inhaling the deep, grassy, fresh scent as we brush by needles. Keep awake as we do after the Christmas tree is up and the lights are so beautiful in the darkness, we don't want to look away. Keep awake as we are kept awake by hope. Unfailing hope in God, continuing hope in humankind, and even hope in ourselves. Advent is a strange season. It begins in the chaos of prophetic words about destruction, adorned with a garland of a promise that the Son of Man will return. No, will remain with us throughout. We prepare for the coming of the child and are redirected to the words of the man. We are told to wait in hope, to wait in wakefulness, to wait together, to wait for whatever our mysterious God has in store. Thanks be to God. Amen.